Welcome to BIGtalk, a series of power talks by industry and thought leaders that inspire progress and unlock innovation. BIGtalk, unlocking the next big thing.
Thank you very much for having me here. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to share some thoughts and some ideas. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about how I think we should be refocusing Bulawayo. My original topic was rebuilding Bulawayo, but I have changed it because in my thinking, in my thought process, I said to myself, we cannot be refocusing, we cannot be rebuilding an institution that's over 100 years old. We need to be refocusing, redirecting it. And I don't know if you recognize that picture. Does anybody recognize that picture? That's my favorite city in the whole wide world. And that is a picture on Nkomo Street. We'll just leave it at that. The ideas that I'm going to share are from a personal perspective, and I'm very happy for anybody to differ with me, for anybody to come up with different thoughts, different ideas, and they are purely from a personal point of view. So I'm not going to go into the history of Bulawayo and what happened and what went wrong and all of those things, but just to say that there was a time that things were flying in the city. There was a time that things were great in the city. A lot of you remember those times. Some of you were probably too young to remember those times, but those times were there. Then what happened? The city was disrupted. Completely disrupted. Just like everything else that is happening, just like everything else Anton is advocating, that we should disrupt things, our favorite city in the world was disrupted. So what does this disruption look like? What is it that when you look at disruption you see? Some of you will remember this. Kodak. We used to have 36 exposure, 24 exposure. And you would not have a function without these things. And if you couldn't get them locally, you had to find a brother, a cousin, a sister, a relative somewhere outside the country to bring them for the wedding. What happened to them? They got disrupted. Some of you remember these guys. For a long time, Nokia was the top cell phone manufacturing company in the world. They sold the most, they sold the best, they were just wonderful. They were the in thing. Then they got disrupted. BlackBerry came along. All these other people came along. Samsung, now the leader. If Nokia said they were in the top 6 in the world, they'll probably be exaggerating their position right now. They got disrupted. Those are the people that got disrupted. But there are some people that are disrupting things. Shopify is changing the way that people are shopping now. Amazon is also doing the same thing. And the report that came out last week says that Amazon.com in 2020 will be transacting between 10 and 20 and 15% of all retail sales that America is going to be conducting. They have a different model. They have totally disrupted that retail space. Uber and Taxify. Today, Uber is the biggest taxi company in the world, but does not own a single taxi. That taxi game has changed. The Brixie Skyline in York still think they're in charge. they're gone. Uber has taken over. Today, the biggest hotel reservations business in the world does not own a single hotel. That industry has been disrupted. So I'll put it to you that the foundation of my presentation today is to say to you, what do you do when your business or your industry or your city has been disrupted? Because Bulawayo was going nicely, everything was wonderful, we were living happily, but not so ever after, and we got disrupted. So what do you do when that happens? I'm going to give you 5 points of what I believe we should do with our city now that it's been disrupted. And then we'll talk about some of those points in a little bit more detail, and we'll brush through some of them very quickly. The first thing we need to do is to develop a clear-eyed, objective understanding of the current situation. We need to redefine the strategic focus. We need to restructure to reduce costs and complexity. We need to build the right character and have the correct narrative, and we need to invest in digital. Those are the 5 things that I believe we need to do for our city that has been disrupted. Let's talk about the first one. How do you understand the current situation? You perform an in-depth analysis of the following factors. The external factors, which is political, the social, the economic, and the technological, and you perform an in-depth analysis of the internal situation, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats, and you get to understand where Bulawayo is right now. And I'm sure that we can all do all of those things there, so I won't go into how you do them, but I need to say this to you about this. You need to be open and candid with your analysis. You need to solicit different sources of opinion. The guy who lives in Themba Nkomo has an opinion about what needs to happen with Bulawayo. The guy who lives in Kuman also has an opinion. The guy who works in Belmont, in Kelvin, also has an opinion about what needs to happen. The guy who's lived in the streets the last 10, 15 years because he cannot get accommodation, he does not have any means, needs to have a say as to how he sees or how she sees Bulawayo today when you do the current understanding of the city. But beware. You need to differentiate between facts, opinions, analysis, truth, fiction, and wishes. You are going to get all of those as you try and understand the situation. And as you try and understand the situation, all of those things there need to be treated differently. And you need to be sure what is fact, what is opinion, what is an analysis of the situation, what is true, what is truth. Because there's a difference between something that's true and the truth. You need to be able to tell the difference there. Fiction and what is just wishful thinking. Let's go to number 2. Redefine the strategic focus of the city. And the strategic focus of the city, not against the other cities in the country, but against the other cities in the world. We are competing not against Harare, Gweru, Kwekwe, and Mutare. We are competing with the rest of the cities in the world. So we need to be saying to ourselves, what is it that Bulawayo has that other cities do not? Victoria Falls has Victoria Falls, which nobody else has got. Kariba has Lake Kariba, which nobody else has got. The Midlands in South Africa has Drakensberg, which nobody else has got. Cape Town's got Table Mountain, nobody else has got. What is it that Bulawayo has that nobody else can boast of in the world? That is where we need to be positioning our city. We then need to work off the strengths and not our weaknesses. We get the strengths from the SWOT analysis that we would have done in the first stage. And we take those strengths and work on them and understand that in designing our new strategic focus, we need to be using the strengths and not the weaknesses. Leave the weaknesses alone. We'll cover them down the line. But when you're designing the strategic focus, when you're designing the things that you should be looking at in order to refocus the city, to redirect the city, we need to be looking at the strengths that the city has. We need to take ourselves out of the comfort zone. A lot of us are comfortable here. Yes, there are some people that are not comfortable, but looking around the room, I think a lot of us here are comfortable. But we need to take ourselves out of that comfort zone. But as you take yourself out of that comfort zone, stay in your strength zone. Do not take yourself into a zone where you're weak. You need to stay in your strength zone, but come out of that comfort zone. You need to understand that what used to work then will not necessarily work now, and will most probably not work in the future. So, let me give you then my 7 areas that I believe are strategic areas for Bulawayo. This is it's a personal view. I'm very happy for you to differ with me, and I would like to discuss this afterwards to see where we differ, but these are my personal specific areas. The first one is people. If you were born in this city, you grew up in this city, went to junior school and high school in this city, I don't care whether you're black, white, Indian, colored, yellow, blue, whatever. It doesn't matter whether you're Shona, Ndebele, Changani, Kalama, Dinka, Chewa. There is something about the people that grow up in this city that is different. I'm yet to find a name for it, but there is something about the people that belong in this city that is different. I've had the pleasure and opportunity to travel a lot of places in the world. The people of this city are different, right across the economic spectrum. We need to ride on that. We need to create a service industry that is populated by those people, those characteristics that we have in this city and nowhere else, because no one else is going to have that sort of service level that we have. Second one is tertiary institutions. We have NUST, Lupane State, Solusi has places here. We have Hotel School. We have School of Mines. These are institutions of learning that churn out top-notch graduates. If you look at the kind of work that they're generating out of NUST, do you know that the guys at NUST have designed drones that actually work? From just up the road here. There is good quality people, good quality work that is happening in the city as we speak. But we're not talking about it. We're not doing much about it. We have the tertiary institutions. That becomes the base for us to leverage off. An investor coming into a city needs to know that with tertiary institutions, you are going to get young minds, you're going to get young blood coming into your organization and doing the things that are innovative, the things that will drive the organization forward. You've got the beef industry. The beef industry is one of those rare industries where when you kill a cow, not one drop or 1 pound or kg of that animal is wasted. It doesn't matter what you think of it, everything in that animal is turned into one form of product or another. We've got some of the best beef in the world. Brazil and Argentina probably have some of the best beef too. But our beef will stand head and shoulders above those. But we need to then ride on that and start to work on the other value chain items. The things that are coming out of the cow. And we go backwards and we look at the things that go into the cow. The feed, the chemicals, all of those things. Agro-processing and contract farming. I said we need to look at what we have as a competitive advantage. I don't know of any other aquifer in the country other than the Nyamandlovu aquifer. There is water for the world underground there. There is fantastic soils there. And if you go this side of the country, there's Themba and Nkomo dams, and there's fantastic soils in Eswatini. But we're busy importing food and vegetables from Cape Town. Come on. We should be the ones that are generating, that are growing those foodstuffs here and turning them into processed agro products and selling them to the rest of the world. Do you know the space, the area between just that other side of Nyamandlovu, all the way through Bulawayo, all the way through Eswatini, past West Nicholson, across the Limpopo River to a factory called ZZ2. I don't know if you've seen it, the tomato factory in the Limpopo area. That is a world-famous tomato belt. It cuts right through Bulawayo. Bulawayo's got both sides of it. We have that opportunity as a city, and we're sitting on it. Mining supporting industries and services. I don't believe that mining as an industry is for Bulawayo. If you look at the geophysical map of Bulawayo, there's a lot of gold in the city. But we built houses and buildings on top of that gold. If you look at Hillcrest, if you look at City Center all the way that way, if you look at all of this industrial area, there's a lot of gold underground. But we've built houses and buildings and all sorts. But that doesn't stop us from providing services, supporting services and supporting industries to the mining towns around us. Eswatini is a fantastic potential for mining. Matopo has a good mining area. Our mine is just down the road. But the hub for the supporting services for those businesses has a base here. Tourist channel. I don't believe that Bulawayo is a tourist destination. I know a lot of people tell you different. But there's nobody who's going to sit in London, in Tokyo, in New York, in Bujumbura, in Blantyre, and say, I want to go to Bulawayo on holiday. To do what? We've got to be frank with these things. Bulawayo is a tourist channel. It's a tourist channel to somebody who wants to go visit Matopos. A tourist channel to somebody who wants to go visit Wangi, probably one of the best game parks in Southern Africa. A tourist channel to somebody who wants to go to Binga. A tourist channel to somebody coming all the way from South Africa and wants a 2-3 night stopover on their way to Vic Falls. We need to have ourselves ready as a city to do the things that a tourist channel does, provide the services that a tourist channel does, and stop pretending that we're a tourist destination. We are not a destination. New industries. You know, just the 7 of them. It's the Baptist in me that just likes 7. We are going to get new industries primarily driven out of the knowledge that is generated in the city from the universities. And a lot of these industries will be online industries. challenge though is the generation that is the authorities now is my generation and maybe older, and we don't understand these things. You talk cryptocurrencies, you confuse us. And our next action is to ban the cryptocurrencies. What's with that? The whole world is talking cryptocurrencies. We were so lucky we had 3 exchanges, not crypto companies, but exchanges in this country. And one of them is about to raise $35 million in an ICO. And we banned them. Hey, what are we doing? The authorities got this one wrong. And I know there's some newsmen people here, but it's okay. The authorities got this one wrong. Cryptocurrency, as an aside, in my opinion, is the next big disruptor in the world. Don't ask me how, but I strongly believe it's the next big disruptor in the world. But let's leave that with the authorities. They get into trouble, stay there. So those are my 7 areas. And what I'm saying to you about those 7 areas is that if you are not in those industries, in my opinion, you should be around them at least. You may not be involved directly in any of those industries, but in my opinion, I think you need to be working yourself to be around those industries. If you have to be based in Bulawayo. Let's go to number 3. But before we go to number 3, can I just have a sip? Yeah, I'm getting a bit dry. That's better. You'll see as the evening progresses, I'll be happier and happier. By virtue of the fact that you've been disrupted and you still want to stay in business, as a city, as a business, it says that you need to restructure. You need a new structure. And the reason for restructuring is to reduce or eliminate costs, and you simplify processes and structures so that your product or your service is cheaper than your competitor. And your competitor is not the guy down the road, but it's the other guys all over the world. Be ruthless in your restructuring. If your new strategy says you need 10 people in the business and you got 50, get rid of the 40. If your new structure, your new strategy says you need 10 people in the business and you got 50, get rid of the 40. Even if in that 40, there's your brother, there's your cousin, there's your sister. Retrain them, do something with them, but they do not belong in that business. The same thing with the city. We've got 2 tall buildings in town there that is full of city employees and all sorts of buildings all over the place. When you restructure the city, you will not need half those people. But we need to be brave enough to say, guys, there is no future for you in this business. We're going to train you for this, that, and the other. It's been good knowing you. But we need to be that brave. Oops. The structure needs to be determined by a strategy. Remember, we said you need to refocus the strategic thrust of the city. And that is what will determine what structure you then need. Once you've got that, you then start to move forward. Let's go to number 4. Redesign the culture and the narrative. We are naturally in Bulawayo warm and welcoming people. We are hard-working people. We've got a very high work ethic. And if truth be told,
The spirit or the issue or the subject or the thing of Ubuntu comes from here. The world has popularized it. Some of them say they don't even know what it means. But it comes from here. And we've got that. That's our culture. The corruption thing is not part of us. And I'm talking about people from Bulawayo. Anybody that's been born here, grew up here, educated here, anybody that's been formed here. But we need to understand the investor side. We need to understand what a guy sitting in London, sitting in New York, sitting in Tokyo is looking for. And how we can help them. The narrative. The way we talk about our city, the way we talk about our country when we're outside, sometimes stuns me. You meet a fellow Bulawayan or a fellow Zimbabwean outside the country, and they start talking bad about the city, about the country, and you join in and you just hammer the city, you hammer the country. Hey, this is going wrong, this is going wrong, this, that, and the other. What do you think the foreigners are going to think of the place? They take your opinion because you live there. And you're the one that's talking the place down. We talkers say Bulawayo was a one-time industrial hub in Zimbabwe. Maybe correctly so. Why don't we reverse that and talk about what it is turning itself into? The rising giant, the rising sun, the upcoming city. Water crisis. Now that one, I got a bit personal at one stage about it. There was issues to do with water, I think it must have been about 2016. And a committee called the Water Crisis Committee was formed in the city. And it became headlines. Now, you tell me what a guy sitting in New York, London, or Joburg, thinking about coming to invest in Bulawayo, thinks when he sees Water Crisis Committee set up in Bulawayo. And it's got all these high-level officials. That was a water management committee, because that's what they did. They managed the meager water resources that the city had. And they did a fantastic job. A wonderful job. I challenge one person here to tell me of a company that closed down in Bulawayo or moved out of Bulawayo because they were short of water. You're not going to find it. And I challenge anyone here to tell me of an area, particularly in the low density areas, that has gone for water for a week without city council water. But I can tell you there are lots of other places I know in some city up east. Getting into trouble territory now. Where they have not had city council water for years. But it's not an issue. We need to get our own narrative right. We need to be saying the right things about our city. I'm not saying we lie about our city, but we need to be saying the fact. It's not a water crisis committee, it's a water management committee, because that's what they're doing. If an investor hears that it's a water management committee, it creates in his mind that you've got good people that are managing meager resources in that city. I want to be there. But I don't want to be in a crisis situation when I go to a foreign place. It's got nothing to do with me, so I'm not good. Let's go to number 5. Number 5, we said to invest in digital. This is imperative. There is no choice, there is no alternative, it's a must. You've got to do it, you've got to have something to do with digital at a personal level and at a business level. It is the new language of life, it's the new language of business. It's just that simple. Without this, we're not communicating. Go digital, we go home. That's it. How many of us have at least 2 of those that they work with on a daily basis? At least 2. The vast majority at individual level, we are fine. But here's my challenge. At business or corporate level, we are not there. At city level, we are not there. Our businesses, our council, are still using spreadsheets to gather information. A lot of the information is still on manual stuff. You're not going to make it. You cannot gather information in a spreadsheet on a manual piece of paper and expect your business to succeed. Elmar is an ICT expert. He works a lot with businesses. He's a professor in an Australian university, and he says our biggest challenge in digital literacy is taking organizations and moving them to a position where they can interact with, communicate with, and work with the community that is digitally enabled. It's not the individuals that have the problem. It's the corporates. It's the city itself. We need to invest in digital. Let's recap quickly. So what do we need to do? Develop a clear-eyed, objective understanding of the current situation, redefine the strategic focus, restructure to reduce costs and complexity, build the right current culture and have the correct narrative, and invest in digital. That's what we need to do for our city. But, and this is huge, I challenge you today, and I say to you, there is not one business that is immune from being disrupted. And I take it one step further, and I say, all of you here have either been disrupted or you will be disrupted. And I say to you those 5 things at corporate level. Take them and apply them and do them to yourself. Redefine your own personal strategic focus. Because you've been disrupted. If you haven't been, don't worry, disruption is coming to a place near you very soon. Let me conclude and say, if you do those 5 things, whether it's before or after disruption, you will survive. If you analyze cases of companies that have been disrupted, that's what they've done. HSBC and all those other big companies, Barclays, they've done those things, those 5 steps. I know you're going to say to me, yes, Themba, it's easy to say that, you're doing it, you've had better opportunities, you've had this, that, and the other. Your wife makes you minimal porridge every morning, and gives you a choice of lemon or milk, and I don't have that luxury. That's probably okay. But here's what else I know. Race is not to the swift, or the battle to the strong. Nor does food come to the wise, or wealth to the brilliant, or favor to the learned. But time and chance happen to them all. Your time and chance is now. Thank you very much.
You've been watching Big Talk, a series of power talks by industry and thought leaders that inspire progress and unlock innovation. Big Talk, unlocking the next big thing.